mics. We should probably have the mics.
We should do that.
Anyway, we just got back from the ORAC convention where we are speaking, or I was speaking at, and had a wonderful time with Mike Zuber and the rest of the crew. It was an incredible, actually, really incredible event. The speakers were all telling really personal stories about their experience. And I don't really have an experience into buying rental properties, so I can only tell my experience in just buying my personal house, the one that I'm living in now. But really, it was a lot of fun. I get up there on stage, and really, it felt like I talked for 10 minutes, but I was up there for maybe a half an hour or so, just basically talking about my journey, getting the house, and, getting to, where I am on YouTube. But really, I would have to say that the overall theme of the ORAC convention was probably like, I don't know, I would say like if it was to get started and expect it to be somewhat difficult, like with trials and tribulations and the issues that come up with it, it's almost to be expected. Like I would have to say that they were very much like basically saying it's not all fun and games,
Right, especially the first 5 years you
yeah,
suck.
they say they kind of refer to it as the suck. The first 5 years of suck, and when you're in it. But really, that's kind of like with everything you do. Even starting the business. Like, I mean, I think about it. The first 5 years on YouTube, well, it was probably like more like the first three, but they didn't really produce anything, and I had to put out a lot of videos in order to get to the point where it was starting to make a lot of ad revenue. So, I could totally understand how the suck goes. How's the audio, guys? Is the audio coming in okay? Uh, Well, I'll be damned. Hey, Deja. All right. Good day from Australia. All right. Cool. We got 25 people watching, 27. Thank you so much for hitting the like button when you come into the live stream. It's a little late to get started on this one, so by hitting that like button when you join in on the live stream, as soon as you get in, it's going to help the algorithm pick the video up and spread it around for more people. I mean, it's kind of funny, like listening to these different speakers, everybody kind of goes about it in a different approach. That's one thing that I definitely found. Like they all kind of looked for their one particular niche on how they got in. Like they didn't do it the same way, but they all essentially were doing something of the same nature, like get a house and rent it out one way or the other.
Yeah, that's why I always type investing is incredibly personal because it really comes down to what your needs are, what your abilities are, where your starting point is, your risk tolerance. There's just so many factors to consider.
Right. And so like I think like for people who are looking to get into rental, like I am, I mean, I would like to get into buying rental properties, and I've used the excuse of my area being too expensive for me, and that really is just an excuse. But that's where the creativity has to come in. Like if it's not going to happen in your local area, where is it going to happen for you? And this is really where like, as I was discussing it with other people, other property owners right now, they were saying, well, you're going to have to get creative with it. Like, start figuring out how it is that you can do it from another location. Because obviously, if it's a $500,000 house, that's the minimum, then that's probably not going to work out for at least getting started in this game. And I really have to say now that we have a few people up in here, if you don't move towards property ownership, you will be left behind. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Now, you can avoid having to buy into property by becoming the capitalist, buying into stocks or, something of that nature. But really, when it comes to being a property owner, you're the one who is going to dictate how it goes down, like how society will be, the styles, the conditions, everything comes down to the property owners. They're the ones who make the decisions. Capitalists can live independently and free, but they don't get to make the decisions. They're basically having to deal with whatever it is the property owners want. So,
I'm sorry, are we doing a live stream?
oh, we doing a live stream? Yeah, I'm doing a live stream. I don't know. All right. Any questions? Anybody want to, break down any particular topics? Have any discussion points you want us to kind of go over? It's amazing on, really, I would have to say, like, how many different times, like, I've heard Jason Hartman do a presentation, and today's was, like, a little different than I had expected, I would have to say. I mean, he's definitely encouraging, but, I mean, I don't know from what I would have anticipated coming from what I had remember seeing at like the Rebel Capitalist and
Hmm.
stuff. I still thought it was good, but yeah. I mean, I guess getting down to the point of it, it was just like he was almost like, hey, don't listen to these particular people kind of thing. And instead of being more of like, hey, this is where the real information is. And to me, like, I mean, I get it, but unless you're actually using one particular phrase or a comment or something that is coming from those, it's like just to generally pick on another YouTuber without any real content behind it. I don't really like, I don't find that really useful, like, in the sense, and that's not really what I would have expected from Jason Hartman. The rest of his presentation I thought was excellent. Like he's very much in the ideas like anybody can get into these properties, and then he shows like exactly how to look at the properties to determine whether or not they're like within your capabilities, and then he offers that all up for free. So it's like, dude is super rad for you know getting people like in the game and getting them down the road. I mean, it's just like
Yeah,
so.
he bought that property tracker and then made it free for everybody to use.
Oh, he
Which
bought that?
he bought that. Yeah, he bought that
Damn.
software and then changed it up to make it his and made it free for
It
everybody.
made it free for everybody. That is so rad. Like, I mean, when I saw the value of what it was, because I hadn't really messed with that property tracker, but when he was showing like how to use it, it was like, holy crap, man, this thing is like an incredible tool. I mean, especially for somebody who's trying to figure out like, how does this work? I mean, that property tracker was amazing, and then he teaches you exactly how to use it. It's just, it's, you know, I mean, how can that be bad?
What's funny is he's giving me shit earlier because I'm in San Diego. He throws his events in Irvine, and I haven't attended one yet. And he's giving me shit for going all the way out to Orlando, to Houston, go see George, but not go to his events.
Well, he's never asked me to speak at his events.
Ah, that's what I should tell him.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I don't go because he never asked me to speak at it.
I'm totally
You did
using that
great,
one.
Yui. Thank you, Deja. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that was straight from the heart. Like I got up, basically what I had done is I listened to all the other speakers and I listened to their stories and I was just like, okay, you guys got great stories. I mean, they really do. Like they're some tough times and stuff that they got into it. And so I thought, well, I'll tell my story, and so. And it was tough times getting into the house too, but I got it, and that was the important part of it. It's just like, at the time, it didn't feel like it was the right decision, and I think that almost seems to be unanimous with everybody's first property they buy. It's just like they cannot understand like this is the one. And in fact, there was a couple, I can't remember the names, but they were talking about the first property they had purchased and ended up turning into a profitable property. But considering what it is that they know now, they never would have bought that property, and it was that piece that actually got them going into the rest of the ownership that they have. And so it's just like it's almost like you have to get punished,
Yeah,
almost. It's like it's like I don't think you have to, but it just almost seems like it's gonna be that way.
yeah. Like Dion was saying, it's called tuition.
Tuition, yeah, that's probably a good way of looking at it.
There's also stupid tax, which that's
Well,
bad tuition.
that's like that's
That's kind
expensive
of yeah, that's
tuition
the
right
stuff you want
there.
to avoid.
All right. Ad lib is 100. Thank you. What are your thoughts on the rich getting richer, and how rich can they get before the system just doesn't make sense anymore? Well, I think that's already come and gone. Like the system hasn't made sense for quite some time, but how rich can the rich get? Well, there was a time when it was limited when you had gold currency, right? Because gold money doesn't allow you to expand. So if you have the ability to expand forever, then you have the ability to have people who can get rich forever. And that, I don't know how long can last. I mean, I don't have any belief that it can last forever. But then again, I also look at it that it could continue on for quite some time. Like, you think about it, we don't know about negative interest rates or tokenization or, cashless society, like all these components that haven't taken place yet could really extend it on for quite some time. And in that case, the concentration will happen even more. and which will put you even more in a position in which that if you are not a property owner now, it'll be that much more punishing to try and even become a property owner in the future. It's like now is your time while it's still available. Like, what's something I thought about, it was just like it's eventually going to get to a point where the working class, even if they had extra money coming in, like side hustles or whatever, it's not going to be, it still won't be enough. And that's really kind of how it's happening now, considering that most people with an average working job can't do it. So you have to get a side hustle or something. And then once everybody starts doing the side hustles, those won't be enough either. Right? And then it'll just be those who have property, building wealth, buying more property, and concentrating it into the hands of just a few. And it's the Cantillon effect, right? And so it's not somebody you blame, it's just something you understand and then have to deal with it appropriately. We got 48 people watching. That's awesome. 26 likes. We could certainly have a lot more likes than that. All 48 people should reach over and hit that like button right now. All right, Simon and myself like living in pretty places where there is lots of demand for STR. What's that?
Short-term rental.
Oh,
I will be right back.
see, that's how much I know. Um, where there's lots of demand for short-term rental. Is that like short-term rental, like people just staying for, like a very short time? Because I can imagine that as time goes on, we're gonna find a moment here where in Astoria, where the hospital district, where the hospital district is gonna have, it's because it's expanding here. So like the hospital itself, I mean, I am like when I drive past the project, I'm like, holy crap, they're gonna double the size of the hospital here. And I'd imagine that once that thing is up and running and all the rest of the facilities that are kind of going up right now get up and running, that the demand for rentals is just going to be really, really high. However, the expense for property there right now is just stupid, ridiculously high. It's like, I mean, you're really stretching yourself to the end, just trying to get into something like this, considering there's so many more cheaper places in the country that are going to have probably easier ways of like profiting from than expensive ass Astoria, in my opinion. I don't know. Like, what do I know about rentals? I don't have any rentals. But I look at all these guys who talk about them, and I think about the situation that I'm in and where I'm at. And I'm thinking, this isn't where I want to be for my first time rentals. It's just like I like these guys. They're heading off to, fucking places where it's like, like nobody's
Ghetto.
like, yeah, they're like ghetto, man.
Ghetto. Yeah, I took a video and I showed my dad. There's roofs just completely caving in, walls just peeling off the side of buildings like flower petals. These buildings, I mean, some of them are they need to be just completely demolished. The only thing they have going for them is that they have utilities ran to them.
Right.
That's about it.
And so the potential's there, but the conditions suck, right? And so when you look at places that suck like that, it's all in destruction and tore down. The potential is all there. It's like, man, look how much this can grow. Look how awesome this could be. But if you're in a place that's already awesome or getting pretty awesome, it's just like, damn, this is awesome is expensive, and it's it's hard. Anyway.
How's the economy in Vegas?
Oh,
I honestly haven't been out too much to see, but
me neither.
I'll tell you what, there's a food truck right down here on the corner, about a quarter mile away, and it is packed all the time. I know this is the city that doesn't sleep, but 3 a.m., there's a line just around.
There's nothing else really around, just that taco truck, and it's packed.
Right, it's a gas station that was shut down. They just parked their taco truck in the gas station area, and it's wrapped
and it's drive-through.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, it's not. You don't even walk up. You got to drive through the thing. That's how busy they are. Yeah.
We're shaking.
What is it?
I guess we're shaking the table.
Oh, are we? Oh, I'll get hands off. Sorry, Frenchie. Let's see. French Roofer. Thank you so much for the continuous membership. All right, UE in Vegas. Yes, in all-nighters in Vegas. We're both there. Okay, the city that doesn't sleep is my hometown. Nice. The top 20% are doing all the spending in Vegas. Yeah, I think about it. It's like Vegas is probably more of a booming town for the working class individuals because you think about it, like the top 20% are probably not big into gambling and
Yeah,
like I mean they might be some for vacation or whatever, but I think really that's not really like the kind of the attitude that I get when I talk with these guys and I hang out with them. It's just like that's gambling isn't really in the in their what they do. It's not that's not it. Um, so I would imagine like most of the gambling and stuff like that is probably happening from people who are just like, ah, this is, vacation for the year, get away from work kind of stuff. Heck yeah, always appreciate your insight. Thank you. All right, long holiday is good for revenue. It's business. It's busy. Yeah. Is it a canary in the coal mine? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it would be better to go down. I would think it would be better to go down and actually talk to like the waitresses, the dancers, anybody who's like getting tips.
Yeah.
Anybody who's getting tips, they're the ones who are probably going to feel it absolutely first, before anybody else. Is because as the money tightens up, you're still spending it, but you're just kind of a little cautious on the areas that you were frivolous with it, and like tipping or over tipping. It's kind of one of those things.
Which is funny because I'm dead broke on a crazy budget, but I gave like $8 tips on a $20 charge at Denny's. So we were doing these Denny's midnight meetups where we would literally start at around 11:30 and go till 3:30 at night in the morning, and my kind of hours. But I had to call the Denny's ahead of time, let them know, hey, we're gonna have like 30 to 40 people at that time, so they would be ready. And yeah, they got it done. They were a little shorthanded, and they actually had new cooks, but they got it done. So I gave them a pretty good sizable tip.
Yeah, that's cool. Darn, I missed the start.
Neil's calling me.
Who is?
Neil.
Hey, put him on speaker.
What is this? Oh, why did it? Oh,
did he hang up on him?
I don't know what happened.
Oh, he heard that we were gonna call, put him on speaker, and he hung up. That's what happened.
Oh, he's asking me if I call you on the phone when your hand rings.
Strippers will always determine the economy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they necessarily. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So now we're really making this a group meeting here.
Three-way live stream.
Oh.
Oh, are we getting feedback?
Are we? Oh, it's probably ripping through. You're gonna have to turn the audio down on your YouTube. I know the club, but we won't mention the name.
I muted my end.
There you go. Strippers. Oh, we already read that one. Well, yeah, I think this, like the stripper index, if there was really a true stripper index, like if you could get an accurate one, would probably be one of the most accurate ways of determining the economy right now. But considering that's, do you have something to say?
You're live on air.
I'm gonna let you guys go. Enjoy your live stream. Enjoy Vegas and be safe, brother.
All right, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks for calling, brother.
All right. Hey, there we go.
Oh, I just turned my damn phone off.
All right. Say hi, Neil. There we go. All right. This is the place for Rubik's Cube. Is that you?
Yeah, this place, Vegas is crazy, man. It's designed to keep us in. The casinos, the whole city, the structure of the place.
Yeah, and that's what I found pretty interesting. Like you're walking through the casinos, and there's no like corners; it's all circles, right? So you're constantly moving in an arch, and it's never like a leading to the exits. It's always a leading back into the casino, which I don't know how they do that. Like it's like you follow the path, and you're always back into the casino. It's like like how the hell do we get out? Like is the
Groundhog Day
yeah.
casino.
That's what I found. I was like, damn, how are we still in here? All right, we got 70 people watching. Thank you so much for joining in on today's live stream. Let's get some questions going, and maybe all nighter, and I can answer them.
I bet you the exits to the casino magically appear if you're too drunk or your pockets are empty.
Yeah.
They just magically
like all of a sudden there's the exit, right? It's like guide you right out. It's like getting too drunk and no money. That's it. You're out. God, you remember? So we were. It's funny. This is a story. Like Old Nighter and I were hanging out outside of the Bellagio, and we see this old man, and he is not doing well. He's got this young kid with him, right? And like we're freaking out. We're like, "Holy shit, this old man's dying!" Right?
He's like,
And so
his knees are giving
he's
out.
giving out. Like he is not doing well, and he is fading. He's like, "Ugh," right? You know. And I'm like, "Oh shit." And so like we run over there, and Sarah and Kimmy were there too, and they call 911, and we're trying to help this old man, and the kid's like, "No, he's fine," and I was like, "He's far from fine." You know, they say you don't have the choice anymore.
He's having a
We're
medical emergency.
yeah, I was like, this guy is far from fine. So anyway, the medical, finally shows up and all that, and we wander off. We're watching from a distance and stuff, and so we see him. He all gets taken care of and stuff, and then like later, how did we find out or whatever?
He was at a slot machine.
Well, we found him out. We found him later at a slot machine, but he was dope. He was like high.
Yeah,
so he
that's
was like
right.
high
Yeah,
on weed or something.
yeah, we were like, oh, that one was.
And we were like, we thought he was
911,
dying,
like,
but he was just stoned.
Yeah, the fire department's on the way, and the son's like, no, he's just high, he's just stoned.
Yeah, by that time it was too late. And 911 had already been called there. That's right. Oh god, that was so funny. And then
Old man that looks like he could really be having medical issues.
He did. He looked like, I've seen people get stoned, like, that wasn't it, man. This dude was dying. He was like, he was going out. It was so funny.
Man.
Yep. Yeah, then like a few hours later, we saw him playing slots. He's playing the poker machine.
Yeah, we avoided him.
Yeah, it was so
Didn't want to
funny.
go and ask him how he was feeling.
Oh, that was funny. Alright, so that's why you have children? Huh. What is going on here? Do you think not K economy, it's a flat economy? No, I definitely think it's two-tiered.
I think Deja's saying that's why we have children, to help us out when we get too stoned.
Oh my god! That's why we have kids. That's it. We're too messed up. Yeah, God. When I was a kid, remember, like, this is the funny thing, like, kids don't know anything nowadays. When I was a kid, I was the remote control. Like, I had to stand next to the TV and turn the channel,
Yeah.
until they said stop, That was my job. Click. Astoria must have lots of people wanting to come for a weekend or a few days and stay good. Yeah, can even do it on a part of a property. Yeah, I mean, I could say that would be, something that would probably do quite well in Astoria, but, you also have to find a decent location that people want to be at, and Astoria is, I mean, there's a lot of locations like that, but really, you'd have to come check it out. It's a different kind of town, If you were talking like, property ownership out in like maybe Warrenton or Seaside, those are going to be a little bit easier. Maybe not so much Seaside because that's kind of a touristy town, but Warrenton's getting bigger and it's more of like, kind of like the family kind of oriented town. But yeah. Other than that, we would have to go inland. And inland, there's a lot, going on that way too. But it's like Astoria is a destination, and nobody really wants to, hang out anywhere else but Astoria.
I wonder if you might have a market in Idaho.
Idaho, from what I understand, was really happening too. It was like especially like the Boise area, I guess, was pretty exciting. But that would be fairly close. Like you can drive to Idaho in a day.
Yeah,
It's across the
close
state.
enough.
Close enough. Yeah. Knights BTC. What is that? Okay. Do you think we could go another 20 years without a stock market crash? I think that would probably be like a little difficult to get through. Like market crashes are kind of happen. Like that's not something that's going to be. It would be out of the ordinary for it to not happen. But then when I think about like what is a market crash to you and what is a market crash to like, somebody else, like a market crash of like, massive proportions where you have like, this massive 50+% loss in the stock market or something, which is going to be devastating to so many people out there. But then again, if it drops 20%, then people will call that a stock market crash, and really considering what we've experienced over the last few years, wouldn't that be more of a correction, And
Right.
so it would like, to me, I don't think like a stock market crash is out of the realms of possibilities. But considering the way that the economy is now structured in the two-tiered system, the working class individual was much more of a participant in the economy than they are today. And that's really where I think a lot of times like it feels discouraging for a lot of people out there, considering that, the working class individual is the backbone of the American economy, right? Like we went to work, we did the consuming, we were the ones who were very important, but time has moved on and we're just not that important to it anymore. So when you think about like us losing our jobs and we stop buying things, that doesn't really punish the economy because we didn't buy that much stuff to begin with. We didn't consume that much. We don't buy that much in stocks. We don't buy rentals. We don't buy any of that stuff. And so if we're not buying it and we lose our jobs, then it doesn't cause a stock market crash. If you have ever expanding money that comes into the system and the people at the top who have first access to that money are continuing to operate, we don't matter. And that's unfortunate, but they're going to continue into the stock market. They're going to continue into real estate. They're going to continue doing all the things that they do because that's what they do. I mean, it's not like you can expect somebody not to do it. I want rental properties. Well, neither wants rental properties.
Hmm.
If we acquire enough rental properties, we would be one of them, right? And then we would be like wanting to get more. It's just the way it is. And like that's not something to think of as bad or evil or anything else. It's just the way it is. And it's going to be that way. And people get very upset with that, but then they don't understand that it's an economic force and it's going to happen regardless. Like you can tell that guy not to do it, but then this dude's going to, you know?
Yeah, and then there's just people that don't want to own. They just love renting. My daughter's mom. I was trying to tell her about owning. She's like, no, no, it's cheaper to rent. I never want to own. All these excuses,
Yeah.
not real reasons, but excuses.
It is excuses, but you can have reasons for renting. Like it does make sense if you do it with the strategy in mind. Like if you are in a 30-day liability and everything else is assets, like if you owned 15 rentals and then paid rent on a house, like those rental properties were paying your rent, you have zero liabilities at all and 100% assets. But that's not really the case because especially if the rentals are out on loans or whatever. So understanding like the nimbleness of having a 30-day liability and then using that to your advantage. Like if you're going to stay put and go to a job and work that job every single day and then be in that house and pay rent the entire time, yeah, that's not being nimble and smart. Like yeah, that's not going to work. But if you can make money anywhere you go and you can make money in opportunities that are not in your location and you get to take advantage of that because you don't have any kind of liability that requires you to stay and make payments or deal with and you can just bounce after 30 days and take all your assets with you, that's pretty damn cool, right? But you have to understand that's what you're doing. I mean, this is a strategy that you are taking and a need to do it. Otherwise, pay, make mortgage payments and own property and, rent out a room and have somebody else help make the payment. Start figuring it out from there. Do you think we're going from soft to hard tyranny? I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty tyrannical out there when you look at the news. But I think about what it is that, I'm experiencing, and it doesn't seem that tyrannical to me. But then again, I'm not experiencing what it is that a lot of other people are experiencing. So, full tyrannical to who? To the people who are exposed to that? Like, how do you put yourself in that position? how do you avoid that position if you feel like threatened by it? I personally, I don't feel threatened by that. Like, I don't feel threatened by government. Like, government doesn't scare me. It scares everybody else, but I'm not scared of government.
Yeah, that's what I was told. Kind of flying under the radar.
You know? It's kind of weird to think, but yeah, just if you're not noticed, whatever. I mean, you can't really avoid a tyrannical government.
I wouldn't want that to limit me at the same time. I wouldn't want the
Like,
tyranny dog to wag the tail.
what I guess, like, I have a hard time trying to, like,
Dog.
conceptualize. It's like you're trying to put yourself into a hypothetical that doesn't exist, right? And so, I mean, I'm trying to think, okay, how would I conduct myself in this imaginary situation? And then people, but, right? And then you're like, oh God. I'm just thinking to myself, like, am I feeling tyrannical government on me? Not me personally. I look at the TV and I see it happening to other people out there, and so I question, like, how is this happening to other people? You know, and then why is it that it's like, not necessarily personally affecting me? I could let it affect me. Like, I can get out there and get real emotional about what it is that's happening out there, but then I look and it's just like I'm not being deterred from doing anything I want to do. All right. Would you hire a property manager? This was a great question today. Otherwise, it is not really passive. No, that's not true. It's still passive. It's still passive income because if you're, in fact, it's even more passive, right? Because then you're not even dealing with it. You're just collecting the money as long as it's a profitable property. You do have to have, from what I've gathered and what I have definitely learned from some of the speakers out there is that you have definitely got to be on your screening, like who it is that you are dealing with, and even property owners. Like they said, hey, we worked with this property owner. They were awesome. They did great on everything, and then it went to hell, and then it cost us all this money, right? And so it's again, it's the partnership. Like, just because you went with a property owner or a property manager and it worked out really well doesn't mean it's always going to work out well. Or, right, you're thinking, oh, I'll just use a property manager, and then it doesn't work out well at all. And most of the people that I know, they do their own property. They maintenance it all themselves.
Yeah, like lumberjack landlord talks about systems and people in place, and you really got to have that system in place. He self manages, I think 154 doors, self manages, but he's got the systems in place where they contact something like a virtual assistant, and that virtual assistant will basically prioritize those calls. And if he gets a priority call, then he gets that priority call. If it doesn't reach his priority level, it goes to a handyman, something like that. But he doesn't have to have his finger on every pulse.
I self-manage. Q154 says I self-manage 10 right now. Yeah, see, now that's like, I think 150 to self-manage. That's like a lot. Like, I mean, he's really, like, he's really in the game and knows it. 10
He's got
seems
20,
like a
yeah,
lot.
he's got 22
You know?
years of experience to do
Yeah,
it. So yeah,
and so he's just like, and that's all he does. And so it's
lots of
just like,
tuition.
it's just too ingrained into him to not be able to do it, right? So, but even 10 seems like a lot to me. The houses have constant problems, It's just like they're always something.
They do, but he also talks about there's 4 steps. Well, if you count the debt hammer, there's acquire the property, stabilize the property, so get what needs to be fixed, and then optimize the property where everything that has a possibility of failing, as much as possible, you fix it, you get it new, so that it's less likely to ever fail. So you basically put the probabilities in your favor,
Yeah.
and the property tends to perform. And then there's the people management aspect where it's all about screening those tenants. Don't put a piece of shit in your unit. Casey from Brick by Brick was saying it's better to have no tenant than a bad tenant, because a bad tenant can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars in damage plus the time to fix that damage, whereas no tenant, you're just having that downtime, that carry time.
Yeah, and that's something I definitely picked up from a lot of these speakers is screening and getting the right tenant, and that's something that I work at the lumberyard. I work down at the hardware store, and I know tons and tons of landlords. Right, all the property owners come to my store for supplies, and when I think about something upset about tenants and how difficult it is. It seems like a very difficult process because they like, man, I thought I screened them well, all the things were like lining up and they still just ended up, being a horrible tenant. And I guess like, that's just going to happen. You never know, it's a hit or miss kind of situation on it. Um, but it's really, when you think about it, it's already kind of a limited market out there for like available rental properties, and then the people themselves get screened really hard. So like, even that whole process right there really just makes it so like the people themselves will then shadow over their issues so that they can try and like get it past the landlord, like how shitty of a tenant they're really going to be. That like that whole situation right there, God, talk about a nightmare. I mean, I've talked to so many landlords who like they couldn't get them out, they had to get them evicted, they trashed the properties, they did all kinds of stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if that happened to me on like the beginning of my journey into rental properties in a place that was, 400 miles away from me, I'd be like, holy crap, man, what the hell's happening here? You know?
Rick is asking how we screen tenants. I don't actually have a whole lot of experience, but I will talk from the experience of my buddy Jared. He does co-living. He will get an 8-bedroom house and put 8 different members in there. They're not tenants, they're members. And they're not tenants because you have to evict a tenant with a member, you only cancel the membership and they're out. But what he does is he was using a system called Pad Split, and he did not like their system. They were giving him a lot of tenants and they were filling his units or his rooms, but they weren't screening. So he took over and he started just talking to these people. And he would just ask them questions and see what their responses were. He would just listen and see what their questions were at the same time.
And he was good about asking questions. Like the one about smoking, right?
Yeah.
Instead of asking him, "Do you smoke or not?" It was just like, "So when you smoke, do you smoke in the garage or outside, or where do you smoke?" Like, didn't ask them if they smoke, just where do you
Right.
smoke, right? And like, just assume that they do, and then see what they answer, And then, if they answer, "I don't smoke," and I'll be like, "Oh, okay, that's easy enough."
Yeah, no evictions. On the guy saying stable employment, criminal background check, and I would add no evictions.
Only self-managed, never hire a property manager. So, and see, that's where it's difficult. Like, how am I supposed to like buy into rental properties without having a property manager? Because I can't necessarily do it in Astoria, and I can't necessarily do it in some place that is so far away that I'd have to drive to it, make issues with work, because I do have a day job, right? If you're on your journey to get away from the W-2, you still have to be on a W-2 until you get there. And so at this point, I would still be stuck to my W-2, having to try and figure out how to get to a location that isn't near me. I would need a property manager. It's just the only way. Smoking causes damage, and damage is criminal. Smokers are criminals. Wow. That was... Ooh, that twisted fast.
Only the cigarette smokes, the person's just the sucker. There was one. Oh, shoot, who was it?
Do you think the future corporations will be the landlords? Probably. I would imagine that's going to be a good chunk of them, but really it's still going to be individual people who are buying properties right now.
Snowy Mountains was asking any advice on a cheaper state to start buying rentals in.
I wish I knew. I mean, I can tell you one right now, but I'm not going to expose it. So,
So my buddy Millennial Mike, my buddy and business partner Millennial Mike, he did exactly this. He was hounded by he's a police officer, and he was hounded by another police officer to go and invest in this other area. So that's what he did. And the way he did it was he talked to those other investors and he made friends with them. And in doing so, he made a network. That the handyman that he needed, the PMs that he needed, and all of the resources that he needed, basically. And this is a network of successful investors, not a bunch of jerk-offs that are screwing around. But he found those good, successful investors and latched onto them. And in doing so, he became a part of a kind of accountability group. So any handyman that worked for any of these investors, they were accountable to every investor. You do a bad job for one, and everybody's
you
going to
lose
know
them all,
about it.
right? Yeah. And so you only get the best that way, right? You know, and
Right.
these guys are going to be they're going to make sure they do a good job because they don't want to lose all the rest of the investors.
So Mike recommends things like go on Facebook and just go find investing groups in X city. And if you have trusted boots on ground there already, that's even better. If you got family there or something like that, you can still use your family and go find an investment group and start doing things there. It's really about the people, the network.
The network. That's really everything is about the network. You know, even I myself, like although I don't necessarily intend on doing a build to rent in Astoria, I still would, you know, I was kind of testing the waters, trying to build the network up to put the idea out there for certain contractors, people that I would think would be good project managers, property developer, and really like what I was thinking in my mind is just like, there's my consultant, there's my go-to guy, there's the carpenter dude. I know how to do materials, and like I can see how the pieces would start landing into place. Very, you know, very rudimentary in the whole idea of it. I have no real intention of it, but sitting there just talking with those people, you could see the spark of interest within the idea of it, and it's just like, well, there's obviously something there, right? And, you know, whether you pursue it or not, that's a whole other thing. But that network, I couldn't do any of that stuff by myself. But keying in on these particular people and bringing the idea up, it was something that wasn't out of the realms of possibilities, and that's really where I think like networking is going to be the key to everything that you do. Yeah. Unless you're sitting in a truck making YouTube videos by yourself, but even then you're going to end up networking with people because you just can't help it. And so, don't forget, networking is for us here on the East Coast too. Deja's going to have to come out to the coast,
Yeah,
the West Coast.
Get you over here.
All right. Thank you for the info. I have a family in California. It may be time to move back home. I have family in California. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, where do you live now? Because California, I don't know if it's necessarily like the place I would want to move to, unless it was like I had a pretty decent established life there or ability to live there. Because like California is to me isn't exactly the easiest place in the world to go. I don't know. What do you think? You live there. I mean, I just think it seems very expensive and difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, California is something else, man.
Like it doesn't seem easy. That's where
It's not. Yeah, I love the people though.
I love California. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Ojai and Ventura area, and I just think that place was just absolutely beautiful. I
Yeah,
loved it.
dude, the topography of San Diego. Oh man, when we're centrally located, we're 45 minutes from the water, from the beach, and then 45 minutes from the mountains. It's
That's
amazing.
perfect,
I've
right?
gone up into the mountains. I've gone up to Cuimaca Peak, my dad and I, and we're looking north, and we see the desert over here, and the mountains over here, and the beaches over here. It's just all this different topography, all
Nice.
within sight range. Just amazing.
That's cool. We have a question now? All right. I have a background in case management, social work, so I treat property management the same pretty much. The state may be able to ban knives outside. What? The rental owner can ban them inside. Don't use those knives on the counter. Oh my god. I am waiting for the universal income so I can retire and don't have to work anymore. Yeah, Jay Pedro, I wouldn't count on that. I wouldn't hold my breath anyway. And if you're the initiator or in the initiation of the UBI, like you get the first part, it'll probably be pretty awesome. But as time goes on, it's just going to absolutely cause the inequality to just go out on a rocket ship of hopelessness for most people at the bottom of the line. It would just be ridiculous. So I wouldn't wish for UBI. I mean, something like that's probably going to end up happening anyway. But again, I wouldn't wish for it. 44 minutes into this live stream. I sat up on that stage for 30 minutes, I guess. Pretty close. I kid you not, I felt like 10. It didn't even feel like 30 minutes. Like, I felt like I'd just gotten started, and then I see Mike up there, and he's just like,
Right.
you know,
Time
oh,
to wind it up.
here, you talk to him for a second. I'm going to show you guys something. Let me get.
Oh yeah, I should do another show and tell when you get back too. What else? So I brought the cowbell. I brought the cowbell out and rang that thing like it just didn't care, and had a lot of fun with that. And the crowd responded to it, unlike at Rebel Capitalist, where they just kind of looked at me like, "What are you doing with the cowbell over here?"
Yeah, I know. It's
really
like,
funny.
yeah, the
It
Rebel
was a little
capitalists were
awkward,
like
Rebel
really,
capitalists,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like, I thought it was great, man.
It was perfect at
Those
ORAC.
guys were like, what the hell? Zoomers was like, I really love it. Yeah. So check out this case. I don't know. Can you guys see it? Look at this badass case. All right. And you wouldn't believe it. Like, it even has my name. It says Uneducated Economist. I don't know if you can read it on there, but it. I can't really. It's etched in there. It says Uneducated Economist right
Let's see
there.
if I can.
Can you light it up? Yeah, can you see it there? So it's etched on this case. This case has
Don't know what we're doing.
4 clips holding this thing together. Right, keeping this thing. So let me open it up and let me show you what's in here. Okay. Check out these kicks.
Are those luxurious or what?
It's written backwards for you, but it's not written backwards on here. But it's Uneducated Economist right there on it, man. Those things are fire. Look at it, really.
That is super cool.
Man, I was so stoked when I opened that up and saw those. Super so rad. We got championship belts, we got championship rings, and now I got these badass kicks, that I am so gonna wear. Yeah. So,
Zuber's
but
a really cool dude.
the case looks like I'm carrying something like, top secret or whatever, This is crazy.
UE is packing.
What's that?
Deja said UE is packing.
Yeah, it's like I'm packing. Yeah, I can't wait to carry it into the airport. It's gonna be so awesome.
Yeah, Jay Pedro said it's the case for nuclear codes.
Yeah, that's what everybody was talking. They were all joking because he gave out a few of them to the speakers. The ones who had been there last year got championship rings. The ones before got championship belts. So I have the belt, I have the ring, but those who had those 2 items got the shoes, right? So, his belt's down in the truck. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna go grab it.
Go get it, yeah, and I'll talk to him for a while. So, anyway, he told me to bring the belt because he wanted to do a photo of everybody who had spoken at the previous event and had received a belt. He wanted to do a full-on picture with everybody, and I forgot my damn belt up and back home, so I didn't get to be part of that picture. Pulp Fiction case, yeah, kind of. You open it up, ooh, it's all like gold. All right. Ballots and I can't never say it. Inscribed? No, these are Nikes. Benny is jealous. Oh, Benny is going to be super jealous when he sees them. Oh, I'm surprised he's not here. I can't wait till he gets in here. I'm going to so brag him up. He's always making fun of them. So finally, it's like, all right. Do you think in the 80s we turned away from the worker going to the consumer? Today's modern economy, we didn't turn away. We have to really understand that it was an economic force that's playing out, and like understanding the Cantillon effect is really going to be the key to understanding what it is that we are facing today and why we are facing the inequality. And I've broken it down quite a few times, and it really comes down to about like 6 elements, right? 6 pieces to this. Is it 6, 5, 6? I don't know. You're an industrious, right? You become an industrious person, and you get that money. When you get the new money, you're going to raise your standard of living. Once you have raised the standard of living, you are going to cause the price increase, foreign production to come in, domestic manufacturers to leave, and when the new money turns off, everybody falls into poverty. Now, it kind of runs down that direction. And if you think about it, it really comes from the luxurious experience. Anyway, here's the championship belt. Check that out, right?
The champion.
It's got his image up on there.
Even says my name.
Yeah.
Ryan, all nighter higher. So there you go. Everybody gets to know my first name. Let's say on the side. Go giver.
Yeah, go giver. It says
Yes,
over
yeah.
here, do the work.
Do the work. That is definitely part of the motto.
Yeah, that is something that they definitely talk about a lot. It's a lot of work getting into property ownership. It's like the
Real
thing.
metal.
Yeah, the things are these belts. Like when I got the other, what was it, 2 years ago, I was taking it through TSA and they pulled that thing out. They were like, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. You're like, yeah, that is cool. There you go, man.
In neither we trust.
Golden belts, custom shoes, luxury experience, Cantillon effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I guess. Epic. Yeah. Uneducated economist, do you think about China selling treasuries and buying up gold? Um, well, I mean, I guess it would be expected, but to be honest with you, the Chinese are not going to get out of the dollar completely, like people seem to think, like they're going to dump the dollar or whatever. That's not going to happen. They issue out debts to people in dollars. They loan people dollars. So both of those are going to be due back in dollars, and they're going to demand dollars to do it. There's no way that they are going to get away from the dollar because there's really nothing else out there to use in order to do transactions. Now, do they make it a nuisance or like kind of make it like known that they are doing this for ideas of like getting themselves out of the United States and getting themselves out of the dollar and stuff? Yeah, I can see that being said, but the reality of the situation is going to be far different. That ain't going to be what's happened. So,
I imagine China has a lot more considerations than we're thinking of.
well, I mean, dollar funding stresses in China is an excellent document to read. We broke it down here on the Uneducated Economist in a members only live stream. But you can go and just download it yourself and read through the document, and it's pretty clear. The dollar isn't going to go anywhere, and the dollar funding stresses during times of like deflationary pressures or nightmares it really shows up in these countries who have essentially leveraged themselves out on dollars, needing those dollars to pay their debts. We actually saw this happening in China with the Evergrande. What is the name of that damn developer? I can't even think now. I'm all tired. Anyway, one of the biggest property developers in the entire globe in China was heavily in debt in dollars, right? Like in dollar debt, right? They issued out debts that were due in dollars and they couldn't come up with the dollars to pay it. Now, the vast majority of their debt was in Chinese yuan, but the important part was the dollar denominated debt because if they default on that, the whole thing starts to fall apart. It's like a contagion effect. So it was by far the most important part, and they were defaulting on that stuff. The dollar is way stronger and way more desired than anybody really gives it any kind of consideration for. And in fact, I think that's part of somewhat of the New World Order plan in order to convince people that the dollar is weakening because inflation is their goal. They want inflation. They do not want deflation. By any like last thing in the world they want is deflation. So if they could put out thoughts, ideas, even, not necessarily falsified information, but rumored information, it all works in their favor.
It's kind of when I think about all this fraud and everything that's been going on. That's inflationary, right? Whereas life is deflationary. It's just naturally we want more efficiency,
Right.
and that goes against the grain of the monetary policy being inflationary. So fraud is kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
Like if they need inflation, they're going to get it through fraud. At least a portion of it.
Yeah, and when it comes to fraud and scams and just I don't know, just kind of behavior like that, the more currency you have, the more ability you have for that to happen, right? Like if you only had a handful of gold, you're gonna be pretty caught, I know right where every piece is. But if it's just flying everywhere, then nobody's really paying attention to it, then it can really, it can go into places that people weren't expecting it to. I guess that's or weren't expecting it to. Just try your hand at silver manipulation. I'm here to deal with it. What's going on? Oh, I'm here for Benny. Is Benny even here?
No, he's not here yet. He'll be here
uh,
late like usual.
yeah, he'll be here right when I'm in. Boom! Yeah, I'm about headed to hit the exit right now. How do people pay back their debts with fractional reserve, where bank loans $1 for every $10? How do people pay back their debts with the fractional reserve banking? I don't I don't think that's necessarily like a problem for paying back your debt.
Produce more down the road.
Yeah, I mean it would produce more down the road, but if you don't pay off your debt, really, because then you could have ever expanding debt issuance, but really the defaulting of the debt itself is elimination of the currency. So
When the debt's supposed to produce more than it costs.
right,
So I mean, if you're losing on the debt anyways, you're doing something that's drawing value away from society, whereas a profit would be a signal that, hey, society values what you're doing, and a loss is a signal that society doesn't value what you're doing. So do what society values, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if like, a lot of times when I see some of the comments here, especially like kind of narrowing it down, with some of these ideas of what is it the government is going to do with their, debt, or how is it going to be handled at, when everybody gets out of the dollar and stuff. And I hear these kind of rumors of like dollar failure and all this stuff. And I really do. I think, man, this really benefits the top, in just about every way. And so the more it gets pushed out there, the more I try to push back against it and say, really we got to look at this in a different way, because every time we have an inflation expectation or an elevated inflation scenario, or we look and say, look, at the eggs are up and the milk is up and all this other stuff is up, and explain how come I paid this much more for it today than I did last day or whatever, and this is the sort of behavior and thoughts, then really what that does is it sends all the power right up to the top 10-20% of households. Because really what this is doing is it's lowering the nominal interest rate, the real interest rate, because it's raised the inflation expectation and the neutral interest rate. So this is really hard to understand, but really if you think about what it is that's happened over the last year or two, but especially now when you know it and you look and you're thinking, okay, so here it is, we have elevated inflation and inflation expectation, and there is a resilient consumer out there, but it's not the 80% of the people. So how can this take place? Well, if it's done the way, if you think about it the way that I'm explaining it, it really does make sense. But trying to make sense out of it as what happens to the working class? How are they going to deal with it? What happens to those people? What about all of us who are driving the trucks and flipping the burgers? And unfortunately, you're not that important anymore. Now you're important to do the work because it needs to actually happen. So that part is important, but you're all competing so much for your wages, the consumption part of things. And I'm one of those people. Like my W-2 does not provide me with an ability to be a consumer, right? It just doesn't. Having the extra and then figuring out how to ways to make other money, the extra money, the money beyond the money you're already making. This is really where you end up putting that towards the return, right? And that's where you hopefully get into rental properties, dividend paying stocks, or business of some sort, but you're going to have to figure out some way to do that, because everything else isn't going to fly. Like the politicians aren't going to come, the UBI isn't going to make it, nothing, like the taxing and all that other stuff, none of that stuff is going to work. Like, I mean, it'll have some effort that will feel like a bit of relief in ways to some people, but it won't be everlasting. And at the end of it, you're going to see more of what it is that's occurring now, because this is the underlying economic force playing out.
Pooping while standing entered the chat.
I love that name, pooping while standing.
I do too, and so does my family. My whole family loves the name. We all laugh about it because none of us are mature.
Yeah, right.
It's just hilarious.
It is the best handle on YouTube ever.
It's so awkward. I want to try it.
It's like, yeah.
How do you know?
Like,
You
you
never
know,
know, right?
I mean, how is it as such a thought that you're like, man, I'm gonna put up a YouTube handle, and I was like, I got it. Hold on.
I know. I want to know the thoughts that led up to that.
Yeah, this is like, is there an
Oh
inside
man.
joke that has finally got to the
Right.
point that it's like, and if that's the case, that's brilliant because it's just playing out all over the country.
I know. There's
You
some huge
know?
backstory. Like, oh yeah, I was 2 years old and I was just standing there, and ever since then, my parents named me pooping while standing.
It all started when I was 2. Oh god, that is so funny. Get a bidet, he says, and you're golden. All right.
Oh man.
If you can't be forced or will never pay it off, or is debt real? Well, yeah, no. I mean, what is debt other than the confidence that the person is going to pay it back? So, no, debt isn't real. Debt is confidence. That's it. And confidence, right? So, no, debt isn't real, but it really does stuff to the economy. It does real things, right? But is it real? It's real money when it makes things happen, but it's really done just off of confidence, and that's all it is. You know, most people don't realize that we are voluntarily using the dollar. We don't have to. Right? Like it's there's no law out there that says a store is required to take it from you. There is no law that says you're required to take it. Right? There's no law that says somebody is required to take it from you.
Yeah, it's all just status quo.
It's just like that's what's so funny about it. It is literally just accepted out of voluntary, not knowing any different. You know, I mean, yeah. There's no law that says you have to use a Federal Reserve note for anything, except for paying your taxes when you sign your W-2.
And even that's not a law, it's a code.
Right, and then on top, right, and even that is questionable on top of it. But again, it's a voluntary thing. I promise to pay you taxes because I'm going to job here. You know, I'm going to work here. You know, it's like you voluntarily sign that thing. You don't, you know. So glad Kirk is here. I'll skip the emoji. The day 30% of the world rejects dollars, the dollar will collapse. Well, I think the day that there's something else that could possibly compete against the dollar, then the dollar will collapse. How about that? Not if people accept it or not. That's not a choice. Like the dollar isn't a choice on whether or not it's going to be available to use when you're starving. Like you can use gold, you can use all these other things, but if the dollar didn't exist, you know how much available gold and other currencies would be there in order to do the transactions? None. There isn't any. It's just dollars. Dollars do all the transactions. And as much as people hate that idea and don't believe it, that's what's going on, right? Is there going to come a time in the future where that's not the case? Yeah. Is it happening right now? No. Right? Now, if you want to prepare for that time when the dollar has finally failed and you're going to be 100% in gold and Bitcoin and it's going to be super awesome for you, you're going to miss out on buying rental properties and dividend paying stocks. Right? Because you won't get into dollar denominated stuff. And that's it. And then you'll be waiting for failure. And so think about that. You're investing into failure. And that's like, I mean, are you thinking about investing into a more beautiful society, or are you investing into failure because that's what you see society going to? It's up to you. I mean, it's the meaning of everything that you give it. And I personally don't really want to invest into failure. I want to invest into something that's going to be better in the future, you know?
Like, assuming we still have all the same debt, or relatively around the same debt, if 30% were rejected, that's basically it's a huge freaking default. And the world's going to feel the shit out of that.
I can't imagine, like, I mean, an instantaneous, like, I'm not saying that the dollar couldn't fail. Like, I'm not, like, I can see it happening. But the problem that I think a lot of people will fail to understand is that if the dollar fails, it is going to be hectic and chaos and famine and depression and horribleness for everybody to experience. Right? It's just like, and it's not, I don't think anybody will be immune to it. Like, I mean, it might be a handful of people, but you have to understand, like, farms shut down, there's no food production, there's all kinds of hell that starts to break loose. And the only people who are going to have anything are those who basically forced other people to grow it for them. I don't know. Like, I can't imagine what that society is going to look like. You know? All right. When currencies fail, it's temporary, and during that time, it's important to have food, water, shelter, and a way to defend yourself amid a community.
Yeah,
Uh,
currencies don't sustain life.
uh, um, all nighter, you're wrong. What are you all wrong about, bud?
Well, I'm always wrong with all
Oh.
there.
Oh, it's Old. Is that who you are? I didn't even realize I just saw the name. I just now saw it. Old Dare Slayer. That's pretty funny. I'm
The
always
contrarian.
You're right.
That's so funny.
That is funny, Old Dare. See, this is what I love about this. Like, I think this chat is the best, man. It really is. Like, I don't know if anybody I don't know if do the other YouTubers do it like this. Like, like I think I'm unique in it.
I think so too.
I don't know anybody else engages with the audience quite like we do here. All right, what the heck is going on here? We really don't know. And we were going to talk about property ownership and being a capitalist, but we just I don't know. We ended up talking about all kinds of other stuff.
I'll talk about my first 5 years of suck. I'm
Yeah, there you
still
go.
well in them.
Yeah, talk about your first 5 years of suck.
Man, I don't remember when I bought the REIT. I guess I technically became a real estate owner when I bought into a REIT. I gave this REIT $5,000, a real estate investment trust.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of us that got together and bought a bunch of properties. The trustees, they get all the benefits. We just kind of get price action. But it pays me a dividend every month, like $30, more than I was getting before. That technically made me a property owner, I guess, in like 2021,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. I didn't do anything after that. Then I started getting hooked up with Matt and ORAC, and that's when my belief started to come in. That's when it's like, oh, I can really own my own property. Once I got that belief, then I was like, oh, well, now I can actually do this, and now that I know I can do it, I'm gonna go and learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, from there, I hooked up with Mike and got into actual property ownership. That we got done 2 years ago is when we got our 5-plex. Well, we bought it as a 4-plex. We finished the basement, turned it into a 5-plex. So it went from actually a residential property into a commercial property. So being a commercial property, everything went up. All the expenses went up. That wasn't fun, but whatever. We have a whole other unit to take care of that. In that 2 years, the debt that we have on the property, well, we bought it in all cash. So the debt that we have is just maintenance, but that's all it does is it services its own maintenance cost.
That is basically breaking even at this point.
In 2 years, it's at break even. So we're still fixing up. I'm the handyman contractor, so I'm going back there to fix it.
This is the suck, right?
This is
the suck part of it, and this is the part that I don't think like a lot of people who are getting into real estate investing know is going to take place. Is this initial like how do we get this thing to profit?
You just buy property and the next day you're rich.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like all these. I think people have like this false idea that it's just like you decide that you're going to be buying property, you pick up 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. You're done. You can go on vacation all you want, and it's not like these. There's some people who talk about having 4 or 5 properties. They don't really make any money off of it because they're trying to get it to a condition in which that it actually does profit. And I think to myself, damn, that's a lot of management. And then why is it worth it? And then here it is, years down the road, the people who have been in 10, 15, 20 years are talking about like, man, thank God we went through that suck. It was hard, but we did it. And now look at it. We got all this going on. That part right there is probably what prevents most people from actually doing it, because I can imagine, like Cody was talking about buying a building, and then the furnace caught fire the next day and burnt the building. Like, it was just like, like the next day.
That was funny the way
the
furnace was working for 100 years.
Like the way he told the story was so funny.
And this is Cody Davis. He is a 23-year-old kid. I should get his channel in the chat.
Yeah, you should.
He's 23.
Does he have a channel? Does he have YouTube?
He does have a channel. He
definitely.
posts all the time. This kid, let me emphasize the youth of this kid. He's 23 years young, multi-millionaire, and has this just incredible wisdom of a 60-year-old man that's experienced everything in life.
I was absolutely, he was the first speaker today, and at first I'm like, okay, who's this kid? And he starts to talk, and I'm like, who is this kid? And I'm like, wow. I can't even begin to talk about how impressive he really was with his understanding of the real estate game. I mean, he's sitting there going, "Oh yeah, here I got this, building, whatever." And he's got like this big dugout sewer system. He was like, "Yeah, another one of those issues, that I had to face or whatever." And he's talking about all the problems that he was facing with his properties, but then also talked about how the work was benefiting him in such a, an awesome way. At 23 years old, to have the experience and understanding of real estate that this kid did was just, it was mind blowing. I didn't even know that existed out there. And he didn't have family that did it too. It's like he kind of figured it out on his own.
Yeah, he didn't come from money.
That's what's weird. It's like I could understand that if you grew up in it, that would be like, well, duh.
Yeah, his family didn't
But
have real estate knowledge. He
yeah,
went and sought out a mentor, and that mentor was actually a bad mentor.
yeah,
He did not have the first good mentor. Was not a good dude. He taught him well, or he learned well from him, but he did. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't like touching kids or anything. But he did something bad and ended up getting hauled to jail or something like that, or lost
oh
everything.
no.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess he learned another lesson from the guy from
So
that way.
it wasn't like he was a bad mentor towards real estate. He was a bad mentor inside of he was just not a good dude.
Unethical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right. But isn't commercial real estate dead? Why not turn into residential? That doesn't make sense. The 23-year-old would have helped. Are you talking about All Nighters property? But I think that is like rental property, isn't it?
I'm missing the question.
The commercial property that,
Yeah, we turned it into commercial.
but is it like, so you're going to rent it out to storefront or something? Or
It's just it's residential, but it's commercial in that it's over 5 units. So
yeah, see,
anything,
that's what I thought it was.
yeah,
It was
so
still a residential property.
right,
It's
it's
just,
residential, but anything over 5 units or more is considered commercial
right.
or multifamily commercial.
Yeah, I mean, it's living quarters.
Yeah. Fix the roof, no more tarps.
All right, regulations keeps property values high, near impossible to build new supply. Josh, I totally get like the understanding behind that, especially when you start pinpointing and looking at all those like all these regulations and issues and things that help keep it from pulling back, I guess, keep those prices elevated. But the only pushback I have from that is this is exactly how Cantillon described what would happen when you have an expansion of money and currency coming into the system, is that you would find a concentration of property ownership at a very elevated price. So, I mean, we can blame it on politics and all these other things, but those are really just symptoms of the underlying economic force. And that's really what has to be understood, because if you think about it, if it was just the regulations to blame, then that would suggest that you can just remove the regulations and then all the housing that you could ever want would just come right back. And a lot of people believe that, and I don't. Like, I don't think that would be the case. Like, you would find supply and demand issues just like are naturally occurring, and they would play out again. So it's easy to say, yeah, if you just remove the regulations, everything would just go back to the way it was. But then it's very difficult to then understand to the supply demand imbalances that would then be occurring from that. So, ultimately, if you made it easier to build homes, for example, and that happened like overnight, boom, right now, and everybody decided that they were going to run out there and build a home. Well, guess what happens to the supply of lumber? It diminishes. Now, lumber can only be produced at a certain pace. And if it's diminished and it's gone, that means you're not getting that product. And without that product, you're not assembling homes. Now, we can go into, well, they could use concrete and all this other stuff. That's great. If they were using it, they would. They don't. It's not efficient enough. And if that happened today, they still would not be able to use the concrete. They would have to use the wood. And so we would have to wait for the wood to be manufactured. Time is money. If you have to wait, that house just got more expensive. It's not getting cheaper. All right? And it's not becoming available because you can't get the wood to build it anyway. And so this is the unfortunate circumstances that start to play out when you just all of a sudden just like remove the regulations and think that it's going to be okay. You're going to find total different issues that start to come from that, because the underlying economic forces are still going to start playing out, right? And so it's better to understand it from that direction, and then look at the politics of it and say, there's the symptom of it, right? Because that's ultimately what it is. it's a symptom of the issues that we are now facing, and their attempt to, prevent or control or manipulate it, but really they can't stop it from still happening, right? It might cover it up in that it doesn't show and it's not appearing that way, but then once you remove the regulation, boom, there it is. Do you think deportation will cause rental property prices to go down? I guess it depends on how much deportation takes place. I don't know. Like
It's kind of market dependent.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it would depend on where it is that you're at. Like in my area, I don't think that like, I mean, it would be significant. Like, I mean, we got a lot of, Hispanic, people who live in the area, but I can't imagine like all of them being in the position in which that they would be removed from our community. Right? Maybe some of them or something like that, but I would imagine most of them are going to be there. So no, I don't think it's going to mess with my area too much. And like All Nighter said, it could be regional. Like there might be areas in which that a whole bunch of people don't want to live there. And then therefore, yeah, if it becomes available, I call BS on the media. Me too. No deportations will have no impact on property values. I don't know. I wouldn't say no impact, but I don't know if it's going to be dramatic. I mean, I kind of in agreement. I don't think it's going to be that concerning.
Rental demand.
Foreclosure is sight unseen possibilities. Yeah. See, people who are really into building houses or working on houses, that would be like, foreclosure, unseen, whatever. I mean, you could take a picture of the outside of it and be like, I think if it's totally trashed on the inside, I'd probably be like, it was like.
So I used to attend the courthouse auctions in San Diego, El Cajon Courthouse, and these were property auctions, and there's a lot of regulars that would go there, and there would be a handful of newbies that would come there and just kind of test the waters. Well, these sharks, they had it all sewn up. These sharks would go around to these properties before they would bid on them, like the day before or whatever, and just go check them out, make sure that they're actually there. What happened was, in this particular auction, there was a newbie, or there was somebody that the sharks didn't like. There was somebody that they were pretty much ganging up on. And they let them have this property. And the reason being was because it was actually on fire during the auction.
Oh, no way.
And they didn't know, everybody else knew it. For some reason, somebody was checking on the property during the auction and saw it, notified somebody, and then somebody notified everybody else that was a shark, and the poor fish got the bait.
Dude, man, that is
sight
so
unseen
sad.
for sure.
And auction it off while it's on fire.
While it's
That is
on
crazy,
fire.
man. That's crazy to think that's even happening.
Yeah, so definitely
man.
due diligence when checking foreclosures. But even that, there's not going to be that many. What was it?
No, I mean, we were looking at the chart, like, there's not that many foreclosures out there comparatively to what it's been in the past. I mean, basically,
They can drag out for like 4 years.
I know mine took off. It took forever.
Right, and you didn't even do anything.
But I didn't do nothing. Like,
Actually,
I quit making payments and walked away, and it took
if you really
4
put up a
years.
stink.
I could have lived in that house for 4 years,
So funny, dude.
and not paid anything. Yeah, I should have. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad time for me. I'm glad that's over. I moved on. All right, I was feeling nostalgic. I am eating a wagon wheel. What's that?
I have no idea. It sounds like a giant donut.
Maybe. Do you think the economy is like a snake eating its tail? What kind of analogy would I give the economy? See, like I think the analogy of a snake eating its tail is like it's consuming itself until there's nothing left, right? And so in that sense, I guess that would be kind of the case because like, the consumption is now moving up to the top and leaving nothing left behind. So in a sense, like I could almost kind of relate to that or like understand that analogy of it, but I don't know if that's necessarily really the correct analogy to use for what
Or
it is
is
that's
it like,
happening.
or is it like Rome where it spread itself too thin?
Yeah. Well, is it? like, I don't know if it's spreading
Like
itself.
it got too big,
Yeah.
and the infrastructure itself wasn't
Well, like, I think
didn't
with
scale.
Rome, like, they had expanded to conquer and then, like, basically take from those other areas to to Rome, right? So that the luxurious experience that was happening there could continue, right? And so once the expansion can no longer expand and there was no more new money coming in, it's only a matter of time before it starts to collapse because Rome wouldn't be buying its own stuff.
Yeah, it's
Or, I
like
mean, it wouldn't be making its own stuff. It's buying.
it's like an imploding star.
Yeah, and so it would just like basically once the new money stops pouring in there, then it just deteriorates, right? So I would look at it more like in that sense, like, once we get to the point where it can't expand anymore, but the debt issuance continues, and so it's like I don't. I don't think we're like to the wrong part of thing. Like I think it can go further,
Yeah.
That's where I guess I'm getting at. It's just like, man, we ain't there yet. We're like,
Yeah.
come on, we can go.
I remember Mark Moss asked on one of his videos, he was asking, like, how long do you think the dollar's going to exist? And this must have been 3 or 4 years ago. I said, I don't know if it'll go another decade. Because I thought a decade was a long time.
No,
I
it's
don't
like
know,
5 years into it.
dude.
It's like, oh man,
Yeah,
maybe another.
no.
Yeah. No,
It
when I
may
made
have 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 decades left in it. Who knows?
who knows? Well, that's the thing. Like when I looked at, when I was looking at the quantitative easing of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm thinking, holy shit, this is it. The dollar's done. It's cooked, right? And people were asking me how much longer. I said, I don't know, 5 years maybe. I guess I don't know. Yeah, it's not going to be that much longer. Anyway, 5 years come and go. And it was just like, okay, so not even close to failure yet. And that was like 20 years ago. I said that, so I'm not gonna I'm not gonna take that bet again. And the more I started looking into it, I started realizing, nobody realized at the time what it was that quantitative easing and forward guidance was really doing. Right? And since these two new tools of operation were being played out, now the dollar can stretch out a little bit further than what I had thought that they could do. And now they got digital tokenization and possible cashless societies, and then in that point into negative interest rates. And at that point, shit, who knows how far it could go, right? I mean, we're talking like those things don't even exist yet. So have we gotten to the point of such issues with the dollar that they have to deploy these things yet? We're not there yet, but we're going to be. And at that point, how long will that system last, of tokenization and negative interest rates? Negative interest rates kind of like really worries me to think, holy crap, you can go forever.
Yeah.
There's no bottom. I was like, that's it. It's just going to continue on forever. Now, that's not real. That's not going to really happen. There will be a point where the confidence is lost and then it all collapses on itself. But if you're in negative interest rates, there is no end to it. Like, at least if you had a lower bound of zero, that's it. You can get to zero, and that's as far as you can go. But once you break zero and you're in negative, there's no limit, And it really just says there never was a limit. But in the end, it won't really work that well. But the people at the top will probably do pretty well while it's happening. What is the end of this type of economy? What is the end? It's a turning off of the new money, which is essentially the U.S. Treasury debt issuance stops. And at that point, it collapses. So,
Let's see, we got Mark joining us, financial firefighter.
oh, right on, Mark.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, brother.
He's a buddy of mine that I moderate for, and I'm finding this channel in my huge list of links. I'll put it in the chat.
Simon, since the 80% of the population is not running the economy and only the top 10, 20%, I don't know about necessarily running the economy, they're the only ones contributing. Like, who's running the economy? All right, but they're the ones who are essentially the consumer, so if you want to consider that the running of the economy, okay. Are running the economy and only the top 10, 20% are running the economy. Okay, how long can that go before the 20% no longer can keep the economy going? Well, it won't be the 20% pretty soon. It's going to be the 10, and then it'll be the 5. All Right? And that's the problem we're facing, because there was a time that the top 10% of household incomes did like, like it was in the 90s, they were doing like 35% of the consumption. And now they're doing 50, right, or close to it. That's not going to get less, that's going to go more. That's what we're facing. So it's like people think, man, how is it that these people could buy it? You have to understand a lot of it is like business consumption, and that's really what a lot of it is. Oh, right on. There you go. Miner posting some links. I wonder what it is like in China now that they have had their online credit system for a few years. China doesn't seem to be doing too well. They're like deflationary nightmare. And you can really think about that when it comes to even like maybe what it is that's going on with tariffs or just the global economy and all. China gets their new money in from selling products. Well, we get our new money in from selling U.S. debt. So when the United States is, firing off tariffs and the global economy is like slowing down and China is not exporting a lot of product, they're not getting in new money. And if they're not getting in new money, they are facing the consequences of it. Now, the United States goes through that and we just fire up the printing presses. So we get all the new money we want, right? But China doesn't really necessarily have that same, like they can try it the same way, but they don't have the ability to sell their debt off to the globe. They can, but not like the United States does, because nobody really wants to use Chinese debt to do transactions. Like some people do, but not the globe. Like the entire globe likes using U.S. treasuries, and that's essentially what they're going to want to use. So China could try bringing in new money by selling off their debt, but nobody really wants it. Some people do, but not enough. Inflation is great for my portfolio. It really is. It's good for everybody's portfolio. That's something that we've definitely learned from this, is that everybody who looks at inflation as a problem, right, is really needing to be in the asset allocation so that they can look at inflation as a benefit, right? Because the problem is faced by the working individual who's hoping that their paycheck is going to stretch a little further. In an inflationary environment, that's not going to happen. It's going to be quite the opposite. But if you are in asset allocations, then you see the assets go up in value and you don't get hurt by that. You actually get a benefit from it. The problem most people face is that they don't know to get into assets, or they think it's gambling, and then they wonder why it is that they don't have anything in their life or why it's such a struggle. You got people out there who says, no, it sucks for a few years, but then you get past the suck and then everything's cool, and if you can figure it out, but that's definitely something that I learned, from these guys. It's like they all do it differently. They all got in differently. They all got in a way that wasn't like, like, here, read this book and do it like this. It was like they all read the book, they all understood the principles, but none of them really seem to do it the same way. Right. They all like, well, let me tell you, it was my neighbor who did that, and it was this person or whatever, and it was that, and there was like this weird story that got them into the place. And it's just like,
essentially, like, all these aspects of real estate that we're learning, they're all just tools.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't know how to use the tool is useless.
The tool is useless, yeah.
So we gotta learn the tools, and then use the tools.
Some people just make it look so easy. Yeah, they're just like, but you really think like, I've seen people try to struggle to memorize lines, right? Like at the theater, whatever. And I read through this thing and I'm like, oh, I think I got it. And like, how is this happening? Well, I practice all the time here on YouTube, reading these things to hopefully say it right when I, come out. So constant practice of it, I got really good at it, and it just make it seem effortless. And they're like, man, you're really good at this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of practiced up. I just kind of know how to do it, And just like anything out there, once you get good at it, it just seems like you're just, like you're awesome or whatever. It's just like, no, it's just practice. Right? And investing is no different. The hard part about it is the losing money part of it, That's where like everybody just kind of gives up. Instead of taking it as a lesson, which it is. Alrighty, guys, what do we got here? I got 7 minutes, so we're gonna give it like 5 and call it quits. You guys have any more questions? Any comments? All right, deplorable. All right, you. All right, there we go. Okay. Deplorable says you can know all the tools, but if you're not doing it, you're wasting your time. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. Do you think the dollar will get weaker in the short term?
Compared to what?
Yeah, that's nice answer. It just popped out. All right. I was a day trader for 2 years, and I lost lots of money, and it was fun. I can imagine. Like, it's probably pretty exciting to day trade, especially if you get some really good trades in that just really lights you up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not very good at it. All right, I can't afford the membership inflation.
So I thought it was interesting what Robert said. He was one of the fast talkers in the dinner tonight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he was talking about his ratio of debt to savings when he was talking about inflation. Like, he was talking about, I like inflation because my ratio of debt to savings is such that he makes more money from it, or currency, I should say.
So
it inflates his debt while his savings gets inflated away, but he gets more of a
return
from the
interest rate hikes,
right?
I mean, I guess I could kind of see it that way. Like, if you're getting think about it. If you're getting a 2.3% return on your savings and you have a 2.3% inflation, it's essentially breaking even, right? And then, if you are able to position the debt in such a way that the inflated debt away, you got a 3%. If you got a 3% mortgage and inflation is running 7%, I mean that's a hell of a nice position to be in, considering that you're spending money at 3% when it's actually getting inflated away at 7. That's pretty cool, right? That's a nice bit of a return that you get on your money from just simply being in a position of spending it early at a lower interest rate instead of having to take the loss on the purchasing power going into the future. That's a hard concept for a lot of people to understand. Does anybody explain that really well? Like, to make it so simple that people goes, oh, duh, yeah. Right. Like, once you see it, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. But like, it's hard for people to kind of grasp how that works.
Weaker against the yen. I heard Brent Johnson talking about the yen carry trade once, and he was describing it over decades, how it had just fluctuated.
Yeah.
I don't remember much more than that, but I remember him saying it fluctuates, it's volatile.
Yeah, we're gonna have to call it quits. Battery's dying.
Yep.
All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out for the hour and a half. It was very cool. We got 57 people watching with 70 thumbs up. Thank you so much for hitting that thumbs up button and getting the YouTube algorithm to spread this video around for more people to enjoy. Be sure and check out All Nighter's website or his YouTube channel and some of the things that he is doing there and his understandings and learnings and executions of real estate. It's a great journey to watch him go on, seeing it from the very beginning. It's been a lot of fun. It gets me inspired to now pursue more of my own journey. I do have a piece of property that I am buying to live in, but it doesn't always mean that I'm going to be living in that property. And to think that I can turn it into something that can actually turn into a cash flow, renting out the rooms or renting out the entire place, this seems like a pretty good option that I could possibly take advantage of going in the future. And I would love to build up more of that before it even gets to that time. So, just being in the mindset, it starts somewhere, So, and what was the most important part of the whole thing? Understanding it's going to take a network of people because you can't possibly do it on your own. I mean, I guess you could, but nobody I know did it. So, a network, and you're going to have to go through the suck.
Go through the suck, yeah, be resilient.
Be prepared for that. That you're going to have to be resilient through that, whatever that is, the suck.
Let your why get you through. Why you're doing it is your reason, and ride that reason.
Ride the reason, yeah. So, it seems a little discouraging, but then, I almost think like, man, I wonder how well I can take. I think I can take the punishment. Like I could, I can handle a lot. All right, doesn't feel like that a 50% plus all the rest. Huh. All right. No, it means you have a terrible tax guy. All right, you guys are awesome, but my phone's about ready to die, so we're gonna have to cut it. Uneducated economist, you guys let me know.
See you on the next one, Brody. Invest accordingly.
Yep. Right on, that was fun.